Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have Killian and Coriander and our special guest. We've got Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here. How's everyone doing?
Good,
Good.
good.
How are
I'm
you?
glad to be here. My pleasure.
Yeah, we've been waiting to try to get this thing going. It's great to have you
Mhm.
on, man. It's like we were waiting for the right time, and here we go.
Yep.
All right,
No time like the
cool.
present, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm.
That's usually that's usually how it works.
Yep.
We're just trying to fit in through schedules. All right. Real quick, we'll see who we got in the chat here. We got a triple feature that says I'm pre-gaming.
Yeah, you
Nice.
are.
Nice. Uh, and we also have Beth. We have Beth, Red Run Records, saying, "Hey y'all, how's
Hi.
it
How you
going?
doing?
How's it going?" Let's see. Triple feature says, "I feel like this review hasn't lived up to the hype so far."
Oh, geez.
uh, Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm's in the house. He's saying, I'm so hyped to talk about the end of the remake. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We got Max in the chat saying, What's up, people? What's up? What's
Hey,
up?
Hello.
how you doing?
Yeah. And we also have 7 Up. 7 Up's back in the chat saying, I made it finally, just off of work. I'm on the road to the house. Oh, wow,
Nice.
man. Be careful. Be careful. We got Ethel. Ethel's in the house saying, Howdy, y'all. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey.
And we got Jason. Jason's in the chat saying, Good evening, all. What's going on? What's going on? Okay.
Hi.
So tonight, what we're going to do, it kind of worked out really great because it's like we're continuing our Stephen King theme. It just kind of worked out this way. But Eric wanted to be on with us. We wanted him on. And this was a movie that he said he wanted to talk about. And it worked out really good that it's right after our ranking from last night. So,
Yeah.
real quick before we start proper, just to give other folks another minute, maybe to come into the chat if they choose to do so. Just give me a quick take on what this movie, what it means to you. Okay, and we'll start with you, Eric, and then we'll go to Killian and then Coriander. Just a quick take on what this movie means to you.
Well, I guess the shortest way to say it is this has been my favorite horror movie for as long as I could remember, and the reason why is I've always been a fan of that short story, The Monkey's Paw, where you a man's given a deity or something, and he gets a wish granted, but something bad comes from it, and then it snowballs
Mm-hmm.
from there, and then add that to just like the sense of dread and everything that's added to this. And then again, we'll get into it now. Since becoming a father, this movie really has hit home a lot with some of the choices that are made in it.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice. I hear you, man. Okay, Kill. What about you?
I love the monkey's paw analogy here because I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
this movie is about tragedy and loss and just how far you're willing to go to get back a loved one, to repair things, and the more you try to fix things, the worse you make it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and just not listening to spirits that try to guide you to do the right thing, man. Listen to your neighbors, listen to your spirits, and listen to
Right.
Yep.
little kids. Little kids, they have some sort of senses. Listen
Yeah,
to,
they
especially
do.
especially especially cute little girls that say, "Hey, I had a
Okay.
dream," you know.
All right. Okay. All right. What about you, Coriander?
Well, Killian said it all, man. No.
Sorry.
No.
That's why I say quick take, guys.
I'm
What,
just
what what do you
joking.
think of this movie? I mean, obviously you enjoyed
Yeah,
this movie, but what do you go ahead, kill?
it's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie, and it
Mm-hmm.
definitely is about loss and how far you take it. And yeah, having kids myself, yeah, it definitely certain scenes give you chills. So yeah,
Right, right,
it's a
right.
good one.
Uh, it is. Real quick, we also got Mac in the chat saying salute. to the chat and the panel. And by the way, for those who were here last night, Mac had never seen, he won't mind me telling this story, he had never seen Misery, and he saw it today, and he messaged
Oh,
me and he said it was awesome,
Nice.
and he's
Oh,
ready to do a
nice.
review on it. So he said,
yeah,
I
Very good.
understand
awesome.
why you guys praised it so much. So
Very good.
good going, Mac. Good
Good
going, Mac.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, the podcast by Mata says, hello, Eric.
Hey, Joe, welcome.
Nice, nice. Uh, and before we start proper, I'll just say for me, this movie again, it's tragedy. It's tragedy
Yep.
upon tragedy upon tragedy, and it has real heart to the story. And even though I've seen it many, many, many times, rewatching it for tonight's episode, it was still hitting me, man. And I think that's one of the hallmarks and some of the best things about Stephen King's work is that, and we talked about this a little bit last night, it's about the human component and the good of it and also the evil of it. So it's a great movie. So anyways, we're going to get ready to get started, finish setting up for a quick minute. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. Okay. All right. So let's get to it. All right. So we're talking about Pet Sematary from 1989. Stephen King wrote the screenplay, which was pretty cool, and he did a lot to help with the production of it. So I'll start with you, Eric, since you're our guest. Any opening thoughts about it, or any high points of the story that you wanted to touch upon?
Well, I guess what I like is we talked about like the human aspect of what's in this. What I really dig is this was the novel was known as the novel Stephen King was too afraid to publish. And
Mm,
the reason why the material was dark and personal, he put it in a filing cabinet, and the only reason why he published it is because he had to end a contract and he needed one more book to publish. So he just published it, and that there it went. But what I really like about that story that he always tells is the reason why I say it's personal is he lived somewhere in Maine, and there was a pet cemetery behind his home, and it was due
mm,
to the trucks in the road. We'll get to it maybe, like there's the scene after the cat is killed, and that happened to his daughter Naomi, and that whole conversation that Lewis has with his daughter about, you know, it's my cat. If God wants his own, God can get his own cat. That was an exact conversation King had with his daughter, and the whole Gage
nice.
thing came out of a situation where he had his young son Joe was running towards traffic, and he always thought, he's like, what if I missed him? And it's just
Right.
all that components that it just makes me love and hate, that everything much more once you find out like the backstory behind it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Right. No, I did. I definitely understand that. It's pretty. I mean, a lot of people, when they think of this movie, they really talk about how dark this movie is. And I got to
Mm-hmm.
admit, and I was saying this to Coriander, rewatching it, and it kind of hit me a little bit more because, when you review stuff, you look at things a little bit differently too. But I was like, man, there is a lot of dark material
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. It really, really is. I mean, there's not tons of blood and gore and all that type of stuff, but everything is really dark. So, Kill, I'll throw it over to you. Any high points that you wanted to touch upon, or any story points? Because it starts
Well,
out so nice and serene. It really, really
yes.
does.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the new family. They're moving into the home. Your next door neighbor is nice. He's welcoming. He's happy that, oh, that house has been vacant for too long. Glad you're here. And
Right.
and man, it's like perfect family, wife, husband, the kids. But Steven is such a master at just showing you something very normal, very sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and then slowly just tearing it away and then just
Yeah.
revealing what's underneath. Um
Right.
and you and Eric, you both were talking about like how dark this material is. And in my opinion, I'm not a father. I mean, I have two puppies, but anytime there's a movie or a book with the subject matter of like child loss,
Mm-hmm.
the death of a child, that is so just dark, and it rips at the heartstrings, because
Yeah.
Right.
no parent wants to see their kid pass on before them. It's just,
Right.
Hmm.
and that wrapped in this whole story of loss is in my opinion what makes it such a gripping tale, because you never know what lengths you might go to if you were put in
Mm-hmm.
that predicament of, the monkey's
Right.
paw,
Yep.
so
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
well
Right.
said.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got Biffer. He's in the chat too, saying, "Hey guys,"
hey.
and we
Mhm.
also have Steven in the chat saying, "Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? Nice to have you here.
Hi.
Nice to have you." Um, so I'll throw it over to you, Coriander. What about you? Any opening thoughts or high points of the movie, or any particular scenes that strike you?
Yeah. That Gage, I just gotta tell you, that kid is so damn cute. And
Right.
it's so sad, yeah, what you have to go through to with this kid through this movie because yeah, it's so sad. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, you can feel, this movie, uh, like I said, when a movie can make you feel so many different things, it's a really good movie. And
Hmm.
this movie had it
Absolutely.
all, honestly.
Right.
I mean, you laughed with them, you felt bad, you cried. It was just, yeah, it's just a sad, great movie. And
Absolutely.
it kind of did have some pretty good gory scenes. I mean, when Pascal got hit,
Hmm.
and you saw his brain, and gushing, and yeah, I mean, it's got it all. I mean, it's a really good
Right.
movie.
Right. Well, for me, just to kind of go over some of the parts of the story. Obviously, many people know this story forwards and backwards, but just to kind of hit on some things. To me, it started off so nice and so rosy, and Stephen King really knows how to get you comfortable with characters, you know, and this is a family and they're moving to a new place. And so, you know, I mean, who can't relate to that? So you're already comfortable in a way, at least I was as a viewer.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful place. By the way, it was in his contract that the film had to be shot in Maine. He made sure that was part of the stipulation, because usually the studios want to shoot in the cheapest place possible and try to fabricate what he or
Yeah.
what other creators have in their original visions. But shot in Maine looks beautiful. They move to a new place, and then of course they have this neighbor, and like he's the coolest neighbor you could have. I mean, shout out to Fred Gwynn,
Hmm.
who
Yeah.
to me, and I think I said this last night, but I'm going to say it again. He was like the glue, to me, he was like the glue of this story. Every
Yeah.
time he was in a scene, even when I first saw this as a little kid, and Killian, you remember this, he always caught my attention, and not just because he was Herman Munster, you know what I mean? But because he has a certain charisma to him. He has a certain
Mhm.
gravitas when he talk. He's the type of guy when he talks, you listen
Hmm.
because he just sounds like he knows shit,
Yep.
and of course he does in this
Yeah.
movie. So you meet him, and as the viewer, you're even more comfortable because you're like, well, here's a neighbor. He's gonna help them. He's gonna look after them, and obviously he was introduced saving Gage, which was cool,
Yeah.
is heroic and so forth. So in the beginning is super rosy. So Eric, I'll throw it over to you. When we talk about moments in the movie, you're feeling comfortable. How did you feel going from there, especially once he starts to talk about the history of obviously the Pet Cemetery and so forth?
Well, you really hit the nail on the head with Fred Gwynn. I remember watching one
Mm,
of the bonus features. We're talking to Mary Lambert, the director, and
mm,
honestly, for the longest time, Fred Gwynn got tired of being known as Herman Munster, and he got
mm,
this
Mhm.
mm,
role and something so different. He said it was like putting on that pair of overalls. It was long overdue. It was something new and fresh. And
Right.
you're right about him being like the glue, because my favorite thing about Judd, you know, is his relationship with Lewis. You know, you get this
Hmm.
father son bond type of thing. Like my favorite
Mm-hmm.
scene, one of my favorite scenes is when Lewis is bored and he walks over and like he's Judge a man's man. He's sitting on his porch, he's smoking a cigarette, he's drinking his Budweiser. He says, "Hey, come on up and have a beer. You need a glass?
Mm-hmm.
No, good for you." You know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's this friendly old man. And then,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you know, Stephen King, he you fall in love with these characters. So then when
Mm-hmm.
they're put through hell, you're put through hell.
Mm-hmm.
And when Fred tells all these stories, he's got that perfect like deep booming like narration voice. So it works with
Yes.
all these flashbacks. And you can just tell just in the tone of his voice, he's like, okay, when he's talking about, okay, you know, I buried my dog there. He came back bad, but it was okay. You can tell he's not telling 100% of the story. And then it just, like I said, it snowballs from then and there when he tells
Yeah.
other stories, and you know the guilt comes out, and so on and so forth. It's like, yes, Judd's seen some shit, and then there's still some stuff that he's seen that he hasn't told Lewis and never will, obviously because of the way the movie goes. But I'm sure there's a lot more that's happened that Judd's been involved in that we know
Right.
of.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point because when he told the story about uh, 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 Timmy Baterman,
Mm-hmm.
he talked about how he said me and a couple of fellas we talked it out and then we went to handle it. So that tells me that there was that sense of, like you said, he's seen some stuff that included, and yeah, he was great. Real quick in the chat before I get to you, Kill, Beth had an interesting comment. She says the reason this film works is because it was scary for us as kids because of the imagery, characters, and as adults, we have probably all experienced loss in some way. So scary on another level. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so true. So true. Um, and Mac is saying that this movie will always creep him out and appreciates the shout out. Yeah, it is still creepy. It really, really is.
Yeah.
Um, Jason says Gwen turned in far and away the best acting performance in the film. It wasn't even close. Yeah, he just had this way about him. It was really it was a master class. It really was. And Jason says it would have been classic if Judd referred to Gage and Ellie as the two youths. Nice. And we got John Steele. We got John
Mr.
Steele
Steele.
in the chat saying, if y'all ever do the Warriors, you know how to reach me. Can you dig it?
I want to do the
Nice.
Warriors.
Right? Yeah, no, we definitely got that on the list for some point. So, Kill, I'll throw it over to
Mhm.
you. How about you as the story's forming at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it, they know the Pet Cemetery is back there, and Judd
Mm-hmm.
kind of takes them down there, and with the little girl, and then mom is kind of like, all right, this neighbor's really cool, but should he be showing this to us, like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, and he didn't do it on purpose, but it's kind of that temptation of now
Right.
you have the knowledge of this place, and then
Right.
sort
Right.
of like what Eric says, more knowledge is gained when he's like drinking that beer with him, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's slowly unraveling a little bit, because even Judd later in the movie, and I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, he kind of blames himself. He said, I
Right.
exposed you to the cemetery as an entity. I
Mm-hmm.
exposed
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
family to it. And because of
Right.
that, then the cemetery, wanted its pound of flesh or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Fred Gwynn is like that granddad you want. He's like that buddy you want. He's
Mm-hmm.
like that
Right.
coworker, the perfect neighbor. You sit down, have a beer, tell me about this
Mm-hmm.
place. And yeah, his acting, in my opinion, was far, the best acting in the movie. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
nothing against the other actors, but he just,
Right.
every scene he was in, he just commanded it so much. And and once again, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but he has so much information and so much knowledge, the one
Mm-hmm.
scene where he's talking to the husband, and he's just looking at him, and he's like, "I know what you're thinking. I know what you're
Right.
thinking. You are not the first man to think that. Don't do that.
Right.
Do not do what you're thinking." And I'm like, "Ooh, man, he's like
Yep.
always one step ahead." And it's like, man, Fred Gwynn, I take my hat off to you, because like I honestly, it's been
Mm-hmm.
a while since I've seen the original, and I
Mm-hmm.
forgot just how great his performance was. And every scene
Good
he
point.
was in, I was like, yeah, man, I'm loving this. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing. How about you, Coriander? How about what were you thinking of the story at this point, or as it was forming, or whatever?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty smart, for him to take this family to this pet cemetery, because it's just showing them too that, and it showed you in the beginning, your kid almost got hit. You guys have a
Mm-hmm.
cat. It's an outdoor cat, and again, it's just like you said, his wife isn't she doesn't like to talk about death because of her sister and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like her daughter, it's like she eventually will need to experience some form of death. So I thought it was smart
Right.
that he did what he did.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think he was definitely coming from a good place.
Yeah.
He was trying to um put it in a positive light, which I
Yeah.
truly think he did see the positiveness of it. Because like he said, it's a place to remember, those dead pets, and he was trying to put
Yeah.
Ellie, the daughter, put her at ease. And also
Yeah.
it was a way to just kind of welcome the family to, I mean, a place that was right there near their house, and to kind of let them know
Yeah.
what was going on, or at least let them
The
know some
Hmm.
of what went on.
Can
yeah,
I
the
can I can
o-
I add one thing? Is like what Killian was talking about, and like you had the perfect still of Judd Fredwin looking off into the distance to the cemetery. The way
Mm-hmm.
Fred acts, he's staring off, and they're like, "Hey, there's a path, down behind the house." He's like, "Yeah, it's a good path. There's a story that goes along to it, good story." But the way he says it, he's like, "Oh, great, this stuff's starting to is going to happen all again." And then he quickly says,
Mm-hmm.
"I'll tell you after you're all settled in, and all happy go lucky again." But he's got that sense in the back of his mind. He's like, "Not again," type of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just more
yeah.
compliments to just not just his voice and his acting, but just his body language, like the way he was peering off into the distance to that path. He knew trouble was
Mm-hmm.
up, and he was probably going to do his best to
You,
not let anything come to it, but he knew there was a slight chance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
yeah.
He definitely had like a haunted type of vibe to him. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like, and again, some actors are really good at projecting those types of things, and some aren't. He was very good at it, because you could just tell, like, the first time you ever saw it, and if you didn't read the book, you could just tell a lot just by, like you said, Eric, by his physical movement, his eyes, the way he looked. And like I said, man, I, of course, I was too young when I first saw it to kind of think about it like an adult, but I'm glad that he was able to do something like this that was for him different, and it really showed, his talent, and,
Mm-hmm.
and and it, like I said, it's still so effective. Um, what was interesting about it to me, and we'll start to get into the part where, with Church, and then obviously with Gage, but this movie, as far as I know, most people I know, and most horror fans really like this movie. It's thought of very, very well. It did okay at the box office. It didn't, break any records, but it did well enough, and it's had a lasting legacy. That being said, there are a lot of critics that didn't like it, and I was actually shocked when I was, just kind of doing a little bit of reading and stuff. Leonard Maltin gave it his lowest score on his list of movies that he rated. And I think it was Siskel. Siskel had given it 0 out of 4 stars, and he called it "quote unquote" sickening. I was like, damn, man, they're treating it like one of the slasher movies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any love for for slasher movies,
Right.
but they really didn't like Pet Sematary. It does have, I think it's like a 56% Rotten Tomatoes score, which again, Rotten Tomatoes score, you can, whatever you want to think is whatever you want to think. But I just always think it's interesting to hear what people are saying about it. But I'll throw it to you, Eric. I mean, what do you think about that? Did you know that it was that disliked by most critics?
As I got
Because I didn't
older,
know that.
I did, because I've said
Hmm.
this is my favorite horror movie of all time. So you want to, if it's your favorite movie in any genre, you want to know what other people think about it. And like you said,
Right.
like just normal everyday people like you guys and me, we we tend to like this type of horror. But
Hmm.
I look at it this way. Critics are paid to be critical.
Right.
So a horror movie, even especially with someone like Gene Siskel or even Roger Ebert or a lot of the, I guess the high ups, I guess you would say in that field, they really don't give horror movies any credit to
Yeah.
begin with.
Mm-mm.
Right.
So they already have that huge mountain to climb. So
Hmm.
as disappointing as it was, it also wasn't very surprising. And that's why I tend to just listen to my peers more than listen to critics, because like I said, they're getting
Yep.
paid to pick out the little stuff that doesn't work and stuff like that. So it was shocking, but
Right.
it didn't really bother me so much.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Ethel was jumping on that too, saying that Leonard Maltin had rated Gorgo higher than this. Whoa, it's crazy. It really, really is. It is crazy. Jason also says that horror and comedy generally don't get any respect from the so-called experts. It's
Mm.
true. It's true. It really
Mm-hmm.
is true. Biffer says, I respect that this film really goes for it. The film left me satisfied. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's pretty dark. It really is
Yeah, it is.
dark. Um, but after Judd introduces them to the pet cemetery, and everything seems pretty decent. Obviously, as you were talking about earlier, Coriander, we have that scene with Pascal, who has the accident, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a pretty rough scene too. Because again,
Yeah.
you're already getting invested in the characters. You're getting invested
And
in
not only
Lewis.
that, but he's hit by a truck. You know what I mean? So
Right, right,
that place,
right.
man, it's dangerous. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and I'll throw it to you, Kill, just to keep going in line here. What were you thinking at that point with Pascal? And I mean, that scene, that was a pretty graphic scene, I got to admit. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, man, we've seen enough horror movies. I know a harbinger when I see a harbinger. And I'm like, dude, okay, if Fred Gwynn is not enough of a harbinger for, sometimes dead is better, you know, this dude has harbinger written on his forehead. Like, hey,
Literally.
yeah,
I was just about to
literally,
say literally.
I'm here for a reason, dude. Like, I want to be resting in peace, but they sent me here to kind of try to let you know what's coming down the pipe. And,
Right,
it's like, please listen, But once
right,
again, we're all like, kind of sitting on the sideline. We're not him. We're not dealing with the loss that comes down the pipeline and his psyche, because
mhm. Yeah,
his character, goes through so many levels of emotion in this movie, and
yeah,
it's all in a very short duration of time in the
yeah,
movie. And it's like
right,
one thing after another. And he's like, look, these are my options: do nothing, or I take a stroll down that road over there. So
mm, right.
yeah. Ugh.
Um, E- Ethel says it's how we drive in Maine. It's bad, guys. Too funny. Uh, and
Not where I
Beth
live, I
says,
gotta tell you. I don't know what part of
Beth,
Maine you are in, but damn.
Beth says, I've always loved the look of this film. Yeah, it does have a really good look to it. Oh, and look what we have here. Francie's in the chat.
Frenzy's here.
All right. Your other half, man.
It is.
Uh, Lewis should have just built a fence. Stupid movie. 0 stars.
Oh,
He's
I
just
agree with the
trolling.
fence thing. Fence for the kids.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Coriander. So okay, let's get to. Obviously, we saw what happened with Church. We kind of knew that that was going to happen because Judd even
Yeah.
foreshadowed. I mean, a lot of things were foreshadowed, but
Yeah, they were.
when they were going into the cemetery and Judd was leading Lewis. First of all, I thought it was fantastic. The cinematography, the setting,
Mm.
obviously you're in nature and how everything was just filmed. It was great. What were you thinking about in that scene?
You know, he shouldn't have showed him that area, because he knows
Right.
what's going to happen. I mean, he's experienced shit. So I
Yep.
think
Mm,
that's where he really fucked up, That's where he really just mm. But I don't but it was quite, the cinematography, it was really good,
right.
and
No, it was.
yeah, I
It
mean,
was a
what can you
creepy
say?
scene.
Yeah, you fuck with native burial ground, especially if it's gone bad, you're screwed. So, yeah,
Just
Yup.
yeah, just like in Poltergeist too, right? So
it's
but
exactly right. Exactly right.
but yeah, it's creepy out there. It's dark, and and of course, Judge just throwing out the little pearls of knowledge, and each buries his
Mm.
own, and this and that. And I'm just like, this is not going to end up good. I'll throw it to you, Eric. What did you think about that scene? It was just so damn effective.
Yeah, well, you put it right there with that image with Church getting pulled off, out of the frost. And so
Yeah,
there's a red flag number one, that this journey between these two men is not going to end well. And the thing
yeah,
is,
Mm.
Gillian said, Judd's kind of like a harbinger of doom. Like, he's basically the crazy Ralph. You know what I mean? All he needs is the bicycle.
yes,
But the thing is, like, he thinks he's doing good for Ellie, the daughter, but he knows
yeah,
Mm.
he's not, because there's a scene when they're, I think it's like right before Lewis starts digging, when they're in the actual burial ground, and he says, "Why are we doing this, Judd?" And he could have said something. He just, like that old generation. He literally says, "I have my reasons," and that's it.
yeah,
So you know where this is gonna go, dude. But he's got the claws of the burial ground are already in him, and it's going down that dead end, that, no pun intended, that dead end where everything's gonna go to hell. Like, he
right,
knew where
right,
this was going. And
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Well, and I'll put it to you, Kill, in a second, but I thought that too, because I was like, at that point, it's like, Judd could have kind of spilled all the beans, and then, just kind of taken things a little bit slower, and let's talk this thing out, and let's talk about the pros and the cons to doing this.
Right? Oh
Mhm.
my God.
There is some cons, but yeah, and it didn't go well, and obviously Church was not Church. And when we get to the scene, obviously we're going to talk about the scene. To me,
Mm.
and again, rewatching it, it was so gut wrenching. They're just sitting there outside having a little picnic. We've all been down that road, and
Yeah.
Gage is so damn cute. He just wants to fly a damn kite,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
he is.
everything's great. Man, I'll throw it to you, Kill. That scene, it's still gut wrenching to me all these years later. But I'll throw it to you.
I mean, what can I say? I mean, it's tragic, it's sad,
Right,
but the foreshadowing was there from the opening scene of how
Mhm.
fast those
right,
trucks
Yep.
race down
right.
that road, man. And it's like they don't
Yeah,
give a damn. And
right,
and the,
right,
and the
right.
thing is, Judd knows it. He's like, yeah, these trucks, they're crazy. They just race down this road like nothing, huh? And it's like, all right, yeah, but let's get that fence up, dog. Let's get the fence, you
Yeah.
know. And granted, they weren't there long enough to put up the fence. I get it, but man, the foreshadowing was there, and just the one thing I'll say, just to kind of piggyback on something we were just talking about, Judd, yeah, he feels he needs to show them what's down that path and what that is. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, because they'll find out anyway. But you don't have to go deeper into, hey, if you bury something, what's yours is your property, and it's going to come back. Like, how about you don't say that part? How about you just say, hey, there's this, kids had this little, cemetery back here because all these crazy trucks come through, and Fido's there and little Ben and everything like that. The end.
Right.
So God forbid if your cat dies, you can bury your cat back here, and your little girl can mourn. Let's go back and have a beer. You know,
Yeah, right, right, right.
the end
The
credits roll.
end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, now because now Judd, you're part of this. You're involved.
Hmm.
You've
Yeah.
done more
Yeah.
than just be a harbinger. Now you're implicit
Hmm.
in it, and it's like, dude. So yeah. Oh
Right.
yes. That's
Right.
that's how I
Ooh.
feel right now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
How about you, Coriander? That scene, I know that was rough for you. What were you thinking? And Dale Midkiff, who played Lewis, man, I thought he really there was some emotion in
Hmm.
that scene. To me, it was
You
just like,
know,
wow, dude, that's like the worst thing a
yeah,
parent could go through.
I know as a mom of, two kids, when they're walking, you don't take your eyes off them for more than a couple minutes. And I mean, these people, he's turning around, oh, talking to the family at the picnic table, and you got little
Hmm.
Gage running out. It's like, I don't know. They should have been paying more attention, and that wouldn't have happened, you know?
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it gave me chills because
it was
to,
rough.
to
It really was.
imagine anything like that, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Right.
So, yeah.
Maybe
In
maybe
in
have
the
the picnic in the backyard. How about that?
further
How
Rough
away
about
from
one.
the
Yeah,
road.
the kid should have a leash. They actually do make like leashes for kids. If that
They
yeah?
kid's
do,
gonna
yeah.
keep doing that to you, put him on a leash.
That's it. Yep,
Because
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, Beth says, I think because of what he went through as a boy with his own dog, the burial ground had poisoned him. That is so funny you say that because I was thinking the same thing. It had poisoned him. So to some degree, maybe he couldn't help it, at least along with the book narrative. I was going to say that too,
Hmm.
because it's almost like the burial ground has a hold,
Yes.
over them, and it's like a little touch of this, a little touch of that. And Beth says, "Great judge impersonation, Killian."
Oh, why? Thank you. I try my best.
Right? But yeah, no, that's a great point because that's what I was getting out of it as well. Is that it did have a hold over people, and obviously Judd being there for so long and being a part of a couple different burials, and like you said, Eric, maybe some more stuff that we don't really know
Hmm.
because he's lived there for a long time, his whole life.
Hmm.
Um,
yep.
we'll kind of cut to the chase a little bit here, and obviously, he decides to do it. We all knew he was going to do it, and geez, man, that scene was really rough. But one thing I wanted to throw out there was, and obviously based on the book was even more gross, man. The whole idea when he was getting Gage. I mean, when he took him out, I mean, of course, being on page, it's so different. But he was vomiting, and he couldn't stand the smell, and the
Hmm.
description of his son, and it
Oh
was
wow.
tons more graphic than the movie. And obviously, the movie is graphic enough. I mean, even as a little kid, when I saw this, I was just horrified by the thought that a father would do that to his son. It was really damn scary. So I'll throw it out to you, Eric. What about obviously Gage comes back. We have the whole scene with our favorite sister Zelda and all that type of thing. So what 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 else sticks out to you? Shout out to Zelda.
Well,
Right?
we'll rewind just a little bit because I want to talk about the scene that we're all talking about. The reason why I think
Hmm.
it's so impactful is not just because it's a 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old, however old he is, getting hit by a Mack
Yeah.
truck. what it is the way Mary Lambert films it. And, she came from Madonna. She did Like a Prayer, and she did Like a Virgin. She directed all that stuff. But it's the way she
Yeah.
films it. Is we have Lewis, doing the 50-yard dash, and even Judge running, 70, 80 years old, however old he is, he's running after him. Everyone's
Right.
screaming. Then we have that camera shot of the truck going up over the camera, and then the camera zooming into the young actor, and then we just hear this noise, and you see that damn tennis shoe.
Yeah.
And what really makes it impactful to me, and this is me as a father now, is I'm not a big fan of the action movie cliche of yelling to the heavens type of thing. But when Dale Midkiff does it, his scream is so painful, and it's
Yes.
ongoing, intercut with baby pictures of Gage, and
Yeah.
that's what I think really makes it an even more sad scene. The funeral where there's the fist fight and the casket is knocked over. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. His arm comes out of that. I mean,
it's
Yep.
just these
yeah.
little things that Mary Lambert captures on film. And then what's really great is, again, with like the body language is Lewis is digging, and then boom, he hits the casket, and he gives that little shit-eating grin. He's like, I'm finally there. And so
Yeah.
you can tell he's kind of losing his mind already. And then
Yeah.
he's
Mm.
holding his son in his hands. He's
Yeah.
talking to him. It's just so good in a morbid type of way, if that makes any type of
Right.
sense. It's just, and then when he finally comes back, and we don't see Gage, all we do is we just see the little dirty feet walking in,
Mm-hmm.
getting the scalpel, the little hands, and then he leaves. And that's it. We don't know what's going on. And it's just
Right.
this anticipation that's going to happen with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really well done doing it that way, because your mind is going in so many different places. I still
Yeah.
remember wondering, oh my gosh, and it was they kind of, or I should say, Mary Lambert held it, like you said. You didn't see him, you just saw, the
Mm.
hand, you saw the footprints and all that type of stuff. It was really really effective. How about you, Kill? How was all that for you, that scene, and obviously the reveal?
I mean, whether it's church or evil Gage, nah, man. Like, no, 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 no. Something's up here. Gage is using phones, saying he's gonna play with you later, and
Right.
Gage
Yeah.
has superhuman strength to hoist people up on things, and I agree with Eric. The way that the funeral and the incident, everything was shot so well, and it was given such
Mm.
respect, in terms of
Hmm.
how it was filmed. And yeah, just when he comes back,
Yeah.
it's that realization of, oh man, like, it worked, but oh man, it worked.
Right.
And the
Right.
Yeah.
actor conveys that very well. Like, yes, because he's still unsure, unlike the end. I
Mm-hmm.
hope I'm not jumping ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, he's just like, yes, yeah, this is the perfect thing. But
Right.
this one, he's like, yeah, but oh, yeah,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, because he still has a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of, he hasn't gone in totally crazy yet.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
because
Oh,
when
go for
he,
it.
oh, I'm sorry,
No,
it
no.
made me think of when he's saying he's still got that hope, because he's like, well, if he just comes back like Timmy Baterman did, like Judge says, I'll just take care of it, but there's still that chance
Hmm.
that he won't, So,
Right.
yeah, well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Uh, Real quick too, in the chat, Jason says Zelda's scarier than anything that ever clawed its way out of the Big Bang burial ground.
Yeah.
uh,
She was.
and
Yeah.
Beth says, I just listened to the audiobook narrated by Michael C. Hall. I can't recommend it enough. He does such a great job with the story, voices, and the emotion. That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, I would like to check that out. I was just saying to you, Corey, and it definitely makes me want to go back and revisit the book and other things.
Yeah. I've never read the
Um,
book, so I
Oh, it's
totally
great.
want to now. Yeah, I
It,
definitely
it's
need
nice.
to.
it's
Yep.
it's gonna it'll be a tough read, since you said you're a parent, because it's a lot worse
Uh,
in the
See,
book.
Right.
that's
So
what makes
that's
me want to read it even more. Yeah,
so.
just because I want to know what it's really
Mhm.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. Ethel says if the cemetery is like the Overlook Hotel, it got into his head. Maybe it gets into the trucker's head too. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a good point because obviously we saw, and again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Well, I am jumping ahead, but at the end when Pascal was saying to Rachel, it doesn't want you to get back to stop him,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. And so, yeah, it obviously has an influence that reaches out. Beth says the shoe. That image had me bawling. Yeah, I know, man. That was
Yeah.
such a that scene was shot with such, oh man, it's crazy, it's crazy. But I'll throw it to you, Coriander, as we get near the end. But I do want to jump to Zelda real quick because I know that was a thing for you as well. Would you think of Zelda?
As a
that
kid,
that
when I
scene, I'm
saw
gonna
this,
say that scene
yeah,
scared the crap out of me so bad as a kid.
exactly.
Still,
I mean, that's she really creeped me out of everything in this movie. Zelda friggin' creeped me out hard.
yeah.
I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
imagine taking care of someone like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it would, and
Mm-hmm.
let alone at the age that, I can't even think of what her name is. What the hell was the wife's name?
Rachel,
Right? Yes, Rachel.
Rach.
the sister.
Yeah, I couldn't even. Yeah, I mean, look at that. No, thank you. No,
Rachel.
I know. Screw that. I tell my parents, no way. You go feed her the food. I'm not. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mentioned in last night's video. I said that's my wife's name is Rachel, and that's why she will not watch this movie. She watched it the one
Yeah,
time, and she says no. If she's awake, I cannot watch the movie in this house, and you could totally see why. And it just again
Yeah, it's
the we talked
creepy.
about the practical effects on like Pascal, the practical effects on Zelda. I mean, is just insane. The it's a man under all that because Mary Lambert
exactly.
wanted the character to already look
Hmm,
even more off, so they got a really thin
Right.
man and put a
I didn't
wig
know
on him, and
that.
it
Hmm,
just adds to how
Yeah.
creepy and scary she is.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, they definitely wanted, but originally, I guess the studio wanted a woman,
Hmm.
and like you said, Mary Lambert made that decision, and which I thought was fantastic because it worked. I mean,
Yeah. I didn't
Zelda
even
was
know that
was.
that was a man. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep, yep. Um, in the comments, Jason has said, "I've got 4 kids, and rereading Pet Sematary after they were born was a lot more difficult."
Mm,
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. And Beth is agreeing with that, saying, having just finished it for the first time since being a parent, it was so hard to shake. Yeah, man. And again, Stephen King, he thought it was a scary book too, as he was writing it. But what's interesting too, another thing that was funny is the studio at the time wasn't hot about doing it as a movie. He originally, the rights had been sold to George Romero
Hmm.
to direct it, and I think it was for like $10,000 because Stephen King didn't take any offers from a lot of other people. But then George Romero got busy with Monkey Shines and couldn't do it, so it kind of sat for a little while. And the studio executives didn't think there was a demand for Stephen King movies anymore because he had had so many adaptations, in the early '80s to mid '80s, and this movie got made because they were going through the strike,
Hmm.
and they didn't have anything that was really ready to go. But this movie was because Stephen King had already written the screenplay. So it's kind of like I always find it interesting how the history of some of this stuff plays out. Who would have thought? I mean, obviously, as a kid, I had no idea about any of that. I just knew that Stephen King had great movies. I would have never thought that a studio exec would think, oh, well, there's no more demand for those movies anymore. We're beyond that now. And now looking back is like Stephen King owned the '80s and throughout
Hmm.
the early to mid
yeah.
'90s, and here and there in other spots. So it's just crazy to even think that that was a part of the equation. But as we start to finish up, Evil Gauge, as you as you called him, Kill,
Ah,
um,
mhm.
the the scene when he goes to Judd's, that was just heartbreaking to me. I'll let you guys kind of jump in on that too, but I felt so bad because even as a kid, I really took to Judd's character.
Yeah.
And I just knew, I knew it wasn't going to end well, and it sure
Hmm.
as hell didn't. What did you guys think of that? It was so. Even rewatching it, I was just like, "Damn, man, they gotta kill Judd. What's going on?"
You pick it up more as you get older, and you know, like we're doing this for YouTube, so we're paying more attention to it. When Judd
Mm-hmm.
wakes up and he knows it, he says it himself. He says, "Well, you've done it now, you stupid old man," and he
Mm-hmm.
knows it's going to end for him one way or another. It's just not
Yeah.
ending the way he wants it, and it's
Right.
just when like compare it to the house, like because the house even starts changing. You know, from
Yes.
Mm.
when Judd walks in to when Rachel walks in to when Lewis walks in at the end. It's just the evil is taking over. And just
Yeah.
that scene where, you know, we get the jump scare, you know, Judd looks at church, and then we have that again, we don't see Gage yet. We just see the little hand with the scalpel and the Achilles tendon
Yeah.
that makes me wince
Yeah.
every time I
Yes.
see that wound
Yes.
happen.
I know.
Yes.
And it's just so brutal.
The
And
throat tear. Yeah.
yeah, it's
That's
just so
shocking too.
yeah, it's so brutal the way it's handled again with these close-up shots of not just, you know, Fred, you know, gasping for air, you know, covered in blood, but we see close-up of his hand like grabbing the rug as he's struggling.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
these little quick cuts that Mary Lambert just decides to throw in there that adds to the intensity, and then Rachel shows up and Lewis, and yeah, it's just that this last
Yeah.
20 minutes is just you can't catch a breath. I don't think.
No, you can't.
No.
It's so true.
Mm-mm.
It,
No.
it's interesting because again, the beginning of the movie was just so nice and scenic, and
Yeah.
everything was rosy. Um, and you knew that it wasn't going to end well for Judd. You knew when Rachel got there that it wasn't going to end well because she was also, having the visions of Zelda, and she was all, messed up emotionally. Obviously, the influence of the cemetery and so forth, and so you knew that was going to be bad. Kill, I'll throw it to you as we wind down. What were you thinking of all those moments there with Rachel, and obviously what happened between her and Gage, and then
Oh
beyond that?
man, man, the Rachel one was the one that like I was like, geez, no. I mean, she's the mom. She
Right.
loves her baby boy, and she was
Right.
away visiting the relatives, and she comes back, and her husband is slowly going insane. It's very Amityville horror in a way. Dad is really losing
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
And she's still holding on to some semblance of reality. But I think
Hmm.
for me, the worst part is what you don't see as far as what
Yeah.
Gage does to her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's kind of left to your imagination until, Lewis comes, and we now know that Gage is strong enough to hoist his mom up.
Yeah.
And, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Well,
and once again,
I was
how,
also
oh, I'm sorry.
wondering, not to cut you off, but I was always wondering too. We were talking about this coriander. What if, like, maybe, and I don't know why, but what if she? I guess that doesn't make sense as I say it. I was going to say, what if she was like going up there or something like that, and then he like really did her in all the way, type of thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Now saying it, I'd be like, well, why would she do that? But
but you think about it though, it's entirely possible because, like Killian said, it's off screen. All we hear are
right,
her screams. And
right,
again, Mary Lambert tugging at your heart. We have good gauge, I guess we'll see as we hear the slicing and the screaming. We don't know how long she could have been screaming right away, and then she could have ran after she was
right,
initially cut. We really don't know. But then
right,
again, we don't know the total strength physically, spiritually that these, I guess you'd say, creatures have when they come back. So it's just
right.
a suspense of disbelief, just something like that. That in this type of film, you have to assume that maybe Gage can do that.
Right. Well, he definitely has some strength to him
Mm-hmm.
because when Lewis at the end, Lewis had a tough time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, defending
Yeah, he was
himself,
fighting him. Yeah.
and it's like, dude, throw that motherfucker, like what do you, But
Punt
yeah,
him.
okay, so you know, Chuck that kid. All right. So Coriander, I'll throw it to you. After all this is happening, and poor Rachel, and the way that Lewis found her, and it was just, oh God, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just horrific. And
Hmm.
obviously we know what's going to happen, and
Oh,
God,
that shot right
man,
there.
it was just tearing at me. What were you thinking, as this is the end of the movie here, Coriander, when he's lost it. He's totally lost in the influence of the cemetery. What were you thinking?
Yeah, well, when he starts digging up his son that he's already gone.
Hmm.
I mean, you're doing that. And yeah, I mean, when you find your wife and the state she's in and Judd, and you got to do what you got to do and take care of that kid. I mean, and I have to tell you, he sounded so friggin' cute. Oh my God.
Hmm.
I
I'm gonna play
mean,
with you.
yeah, I know.
No
That's what
fair.
that's what
No
that's what
fair.
Beth was saying. She was
I
saying big
know.
props to little Miko. He was such an amazing little guy. Yeah, he
I
was.
mean, honestly, to get that kid to do what he did at parts, like, wow, man,
Yeah,
it's incredible. And
yeah,
yeah, like I said,
absolutely.
it's tragic. The whole thing is just tragic. And to see
Yep.
him, to watch him doing it to his wife, it's like, what are you doing? Look what
Mhm.
you just did
Man,
to your son. You had to
Yeah.
kill
I
your
know.
son. And now it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
That's
It's just
that's
crazy.
when I knew. It was all bets were off. He's
Yep.
totally gone. There's
Yep.
no turning back. He's not listening to any reasoning. Pascal is like
Yep.
yelling at him.
Yeah, he
No,
is.
you'll
Mhm.
only
Yep.
make it worse. And it's like this guy is totally gone. And I'm just
Yep.
thinking, wow, that's the horror to
Mhm.
me. That's the big horror of it. I mean, everything else
Oof.
kind of worked its way in too, but
Yeah.
man,
Yep.
and poor Denise Crosby, man. I mean, you talk about,
Yeah.
jeez,
Oh, she
that's
looked
Yeah.
just
nasty. That goo
that was just
ooze
a
coming out
bad
of her
day.
eye.
I
Yeah.
And then they're
don't like
like,
seeing her like that.
yeah, but
Yeah,
not
I
only
mean,
that, but they're like swapping tongues and
Yeah.
getting that nasty
yes,
shit in your
he
mouth. And it's like, oh
he
my
he he
God.
he, he was off his rocker at that point. There
Yeah.
was no
Yeah.
Yeah.
turning
Like,
back.
see, I
Talk
was.
about necromancy.
I look at it
Oh my
differently
God.
now because we all know Lewis is insane by this time. The
Mm-hmm.
house is burning down behind him. He's got his dead wife in his hands, and we see Pascal yelling at him, screaming no, and he's saying, I
Mm-hmm.
waited too long with Gage, but she just died a little
Right.
Yeah.
while ago. With these last times, a couple times I've watched it, I don't even think he sees Pascal. I don't think he's talking to Pascal. He's talking to himself. He's psyching himself up to do this again. I don't even think Pascal's there, but I don't think Lewis sees him because he's so
Mm,
gone. And like
good
Coriander
point.
said, he's when she comes back and he's like shoving his tongue down her throat, like he sees his wife. He doesn't see the scooped
Yeah.
out skull and eyeballs. He sees his
Yeah.
wife. Like, because look at again with Dale Midkiff. A lot of people talk bad about Dale Midkiff's acting in this, and you know what? It's take or leave in certain spots. I think his physical acting is so good because I mentioned that grin he has when he hits pay dirt, I guess we could say, with
Mm.
Right.
Gage. But look how happy he is when Rachel walks in looking that way. He
Yes.
doesn't care. He's playing
Yeah.
solitaire, and he just looks up and he's so all giddy. His hands start shaking. He jumps right up and
Yeah.
boom. He doesn't care.
Good
He's that
point.
far gone.
It's the
Good
love of your
point.
life,
Yeah.
man.
And
Mm-hmm.
then she kills him.
Huh?
Yeah. I said it was the love of his life,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So
Right.
yeah.
Well, originally they weren't gonna have that as part of the ending of the movie. Originally, the ending of the movie was going to be, he's playing solitaire in the kitchen, and she walks into the kitchen, and then it cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess from what I understand, the studio heads thought it was a little too tame, and so they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go a little bit beyond her just walking into the kitchen. And I gotta admit, man, when I saw it as a kid, and even now, I was like, wow, that's just the way it goes,
Mm-hmm.
and an
Yeah.
embrace, a kiss, You see her reach for the knife, and then as she swings it, it cuts, and you hear him yelling, and I'm like, wow,
And what adds
damn,
to that is, she's she's missing the skin around her eye. You got the pus dripping down. What she only says one word. She says, "Darling."
darling.
In like this like
Yeah.
desirable voice after what she looks like, and that just adds to this final scene. I think is great.
Yeah,
I'm glad they didn't cut
Yeah.
just right when she walks in.
yeah, I agree. I think it
Yeah.
was it was better this way. Although Mary Lambert thought that it was scarier that original way because it was just so ambiguous. Um, I don't know. It might have been interesting to see it that way, but I like the way it ended personally. Um, Jason says I think Pascal was the most intriguing character, scary as hell at first, but ends up trying so hard to help the Creeds. Very sympathetic,
Yep.
even from the grave. Sad that he was unsuccessful
Mm-hmm.
in the end. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when that trucker says, hope everything works out for you, and she's like, I think it will, and then he's like, I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
crap. Yeah. Frenzy says, all fence jokes aside, this is top tier King and one of the scariest movies of my lifetime. Great show, guys. I'm glad I finally got to catch it live. Yes, we're glad you got to catch it too,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. Um, Ethel says, if only Dale had his hologram computer, Selma, she would have put a stop to this. What? Ethel, jeez. um, Beth says, wonder how much therapy Ellie had to go through to process all this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I can
God.
just
Yeah.
imagine
That's
that poor girl.
I
And the
mean,
fact
and,
that
and,
she
and this,
like had these visions of all this shit, it's like, wow,
right.
man.
She had,
Mhm.
she had the sight. She was
Yeah,
clairvoyant.
Yeah.
I think that was just King just having he likes giving these kids, whether it's The Shining or just
Yep.
clairvoyance or whatever, he likes
Yep.
that. And it's she was tortured with it, and then again, what happened to her? She's back in Chicago with grandma and grandpa while this is
Grandpa.
all happening.
Yeah. Thank God for that
Yeah.
girl though, that she missed all of it because
Jeez.
Hmm.
yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Mm.
But what a horrific story, man, of her family. Holy crap. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
anyways, yeah, man. I mean, this movie was amazing. It's still amazing, and yeah, I agree with Fancy. I think that it's definitely one of the best Stephen King. Not only one of his best works, but a great adaptation because even though some things were changed
Hmm.
um, for the movie, as always happens with everything, I think they made some good choices. There were moments in this movie that were very kind of just under the surface and just kind of coming at you and you don't always expect it and then boom it's so dark. I mean, you're talking about people dying, kids being brought back to life, and,
Hmm.
and, and all these different things, kids killing people, and it was done in a way where it's with a family that you get comfortable with and you enjoy, and like you said early,
Yeah.
Eric, it just hits you so much harder.
Hmm.
But yeah, great movie. Eric, obviously, it's understandable why this is your favorite.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's a great movie. Here's one question I want to throw before we end up.
Sure.
What do you think of the remake?
Okay. Now, you've been a part of our chats a lot, and me and Frenzy,
Yes.
we're the type of people that are not against remakes, because either
Right.
a they can improve on something, or if the remake sucks, it can at least maybe introduce the original to a new generation that's never heard of it. I was
That's right.
so for this remake when I heard it was announced. I
Hmm.
was happy that it was going to be more like the book than the cast, and I was super happy. I went opening night, and even though there was some problems, I left the theater very, very happy. I was very pleased
Good.
with it. Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I do think the acting improved with the new Lewis and new Rachel. I
Jason
wish there were.
Clark.
Yep, Jason Clark I thought was fantastic in it.
Yeah, he was.
Um, I wish there was more Lewis and Judd, because that was the glue to the original.
Right.
But John Lithgow was great making Judd his own, because he can't be Fred Gwynn.
Right.
And my only problem is once I got the Blu-ray and I saw all the deleted scenes, I was thinking to myself, why the hell did you delete them? Because you could have made the movie so
Mhm.
much better. I didn't
Wow.
mind the theatrical ending we got. My friend calls it the Rob Zombie ending because it's definitely something he probably would have done, making them, the one happy family type of thing. We'll leave it at that. But does it hold a candle to the original? No, but I wasn't expecting it to. I ended up still really really enjoying it for what it was.
Oh, there you go. Good, good. I
Yeah.
was just curious because,
Hmm.
I just wanted to
Mhm.
get a sense of what you thought of it. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll get ready to end it up there. You guys in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Definitely let us know in the comment section any particular thoughts on this great movie, any memories or any other tidbits that you want to throw out about Pet Sematary. And before we leave, I think Jason's got another comment. I know I'm in the minority, but I thought the remake was solid, much better acting nearly across the board. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're
yeah.
echoing, a lot of what Eric was saying too, and Killian. Cool, man. Cool. Well, guys, we will catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, Eric. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Definitely.
I'm
Yeah.
obviously going to put information for where people can find you in the description. Obviously, you and Francie, you guys have a great live show on Saturday nights. I love checking you guys out, and you
Much
guys just
appreciated.
go yeah,
Right?
man, you guys go all over the place. It's always fun. It's always like a really down to earth, just talking about stuff, and,
Hmm.
and you guys have a great rapport with each other. It's always entertaining,
And that's
always.
that's one last thing I want to say before we end this about this channel is I found out about this channel within like the last couple months. I think I found maybe it's shared on Twitter is when you guys were talking James Cameron's Aliens. And
Mhm.
at that time, we're all going the past 365 days has been tough on every single person around the
Yep.
world. And I was just, shying away from the internet for a lot of reasons, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. Let's see what these guys have to say about aliens. And what I like what you said about me and Frenzy is this is just down to earth friends BSing about movies, whether we agree or not. Like Jason Goes to Hell and Megan from Part Six and all that stuff aside, you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
don't
all in.
even go there, Night. Oh my God.
But what I mean is it's all in fun. It's not this
Right.
Yeah.
fake rants or anything like that. We have fun
Yeah.
disagreements, and then like Killian said afterwards, we'd go have a beer together or something like that. So I want to say congrats on 6 months.
Oh,
This is a
Thank you.
channel I do look forward to at least twice a week. I'm always like, okay, Sundays and Mondays are usually my night watch nights, and
aw.
Nice.
it's been a good 2 months for me, and I want to say congrats on 6 months and keep going, dude.
Oh,
Aw.
thanks so
Thank you,
much,
man.
man. We
Appreciate that.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
We really do. Because that's
Right?
what we try to do is just try to have fun with it. And like I've always said to you, I mean, we talk a lot, and it's just so great to have people that enjoy it and have fun with it too. And I mean, you've always been so supportive and always fun having the chat. And I'm so glad, like I said before, I'm so glad we finally got a chance to get you on here. You're always
Yeah.
welcome. I hope we can do it again.
Of course.
Right? We should get
And
the other
it's
half, your other half on with us.
that's right. You get Frenzy on too,
Yeah.
man. You guys are
Uh,
great. So,
I will throw the offer out. I can't speak for him, but we'll see what we can do.
right. All right, cool. But thank you so much on the well wishes. You guys in the chat, thank you so much. Ethel, thank you for being here. Everyone else saying great stream. Thank you so much. And Beth, thank you for being here again. Always great to see you. She
Yeah.
says so much fun, great discussion by all. So we appreciate it. So, anyways, for you guys, leave us a comment, a like, share it with people. You guys know the routine. You know how it goes. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you owe the Night Watch. Happy 6 months. Catch you guys later.
Watch it.
That was a lot of fun, guys. It was my pleasure being a part of the stream.
Oh, thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Is
All
it like
right.
over? I
It
like
should
to.
be. Hold on
I
one second.
know.
Yeah, for some reason it's kind of acting weird.
Bonus
Yeah.
features.
Yeah,
Maybe.
more like bloopers. Oh my god.
Bonus
But
dog
seriously.
feature.
Aw.